We had been teasing and building the Instagram account for maybe, 3 weeks before launch. And I remember we got a couple of orders come through and I said to Joe, is that you? They were finding it and people had already purchased. So we were like, okay.
She built a business that most people were too scared to talk about. Viv Conway is the co-founder of Girls Get Off, a brand on a mission to normalize women's pleasure, shake off the stigma, and to build a community that lives unapologetically. This is her story.
When we had the second lockdown in New Zealand, knowing that engagement was going to go crazy and knowing that other brands just take so long to react, we did 20,000 new followers over that 10-day period, and then we lost our account.
Viv, welcome to The House Story.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to dig into today's podcast. Why don't you kick off and tell us about Viv as a young girl?
Oh, okay. As a young girl, I feel like when you asked me that question, my mind sort of floated back to lots of swimming. It's so random. I mean, yeah, I felt like a lot of my teens were spent in a swimming pool. Okay. There was just a lot of sport in my life. What was I like as a kid? I mean, I think my parents would have said that I was always fidgeting, won't stop moving, going on, always something on the go. I guess that's why sport was so good for me, because keep those energy levels down. Yeah, I don't know. I think I've always been quite internally driven. So mum and dad would have, I've also heard them say, I've got two siblings, two younger sisters. One of them is really talented, but she's the laziest. Mm-hmm. And then another one, she's super high maintenance and she's very smart, but she's also puts too much pressure on herself. So I would be more of the grinder, but the least smart of the lot, So I remember one of the running coaches saying to me once, man, if you had the talent of Erin, but your work ethic, man, that would be wild. I'm like, thanks, Malcolm. That's so nice. Someone's like, is that offensive? I'm like, no way. Who cares? I'm like, that's a good compliment, don't you think? I guess I've always been quite, how do I say, versus the sister who I would say, maybe Julia, we always call her lazy. She's not really lazy, but, compared to us, she would be, mum and dad would have to, convince her to do things or, whereas they just never had to worry about me internally driven. I feel like there's a difference between people I feel like people have different personalities. They're either externally driven, internally driven. I guess even if I didn't want to do something, I'd find some kind of shortcut, whether it was a subject at school that I hated but I needed to pass. I'd just figure out some way that, wrangle someone into helping me or, get last minute tutoring or something. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, definitely work ethic has always been there, not necessarily the smartest in the room by a long shot, more of a grinder. And then also as a kid, just lots of, just all go, lots of sport, happy days, grew up in New Zealand, lots of outdoor stuff. Yeah, it's been good.
And were either of your parents business owners?
No, actually, I was talking to a friend about that recently. I said, I remember when I first started my first business at uni and I had my uncle Jimmy and my friend's dad Terry, and they were the only two business owners that I knew. And so I'd ask Jimmy questions or I'd go and ask Terry, Terry, how do you reckon I can sell some of these gym tights, just absolutely clueless. And then I remember that network, because you're so desperate to find other people who are doing what you're doing, and especially at that time being in e-commerce, Shopify wasn't even, I don't even know if Shopify was the thing. People are using different platforms, there's so many questions, it's such a new space. And I remember, gradually finding one girl who had a dress rental business at uni and then some other guys who were selling acupressure mats and just getting so excited that I finally met some other business owners. And then, in short, no, I didn't really know anyone who had businesses. And that was kind of full stop. And when I started meeting people, then that was such a game changer.
Yeah, it makes a big difference when you meet like-minded people.
Yeah, totally. Now I feel like I have them at my fingertips, but that's been a product of lots of just seeking people out over the years. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you go into and study anything at uni?
Yeah, I went and studied. I think I've probably always been quite entrepreneurial, but I'd never really articulated that. So I was always selling stuff to my sisters, setting up fake shops, trying to sell stuff to the neighbours. Always had 3 jobs, because I quite quickly cottoned on that if I had money, that means I can do what I want. I can buy whatever I want from the canteen. So I was like, I think I had my first job at 13, you know, at the bakery. I was a human billboard for a while for a self-storage company. Heaps of stuff. And holidays was like, boom, we're on, let's make some money. So like holiday programs, something else on the weekend. So it was all go. And then at uni, and so even though given all of that, you know, never still quite articulated that maybe business would have been an option. But also a good example of if you don't see it, you can't be it, right? So not knowing anyone who was really in that space, I think is would have had a bit of an impact. But then went off to uni, decided, like, listen to this. I decided I wanted to become a pharmacist because chemistry was like kind of okay at school, but I figured that like people are always going to get sick. So if I owned pharmacies, then that would be a great idea. So off to uni I went. Again, still not articulating that maybe the owning the pharmacy part was the important bit. Went to uni, did first year health sci, failed absolutely miserably in the first semester. Like, oh my God, one of my friends said, you know, you probably could have just pencil dropped your multi-choice physics test and got more points than what you did. Man, physics was head warping stuff. And chemistry, same thing. Oh my God, so failed it. And then I went to change my degree to food science, still had to do chemistry again, got a tutor for the entire semester, and somehow passed. I reckon every semester there was a paper, every semester there was a paper I thought I was going to fail. I was like, oh, here we go. And so funny to bring my sisters back into it, the talented but like lazy one. I remember there was this microbiology, something like that. Anyway, I don't even remember the name. Anyway, I was like, oh my God, this is so hard. I'm going to have to study lots for this. So I went to the library like 6 weeks before the exam every weekend. I think I got like a 54, so like 50 to pass. Julia? B+, she loved it, turned her whole degree into a micro degree. I was like, oh my God. So like that's a good example of the grinding versus the brains. And then I got a food science degree because again, I thought, well, everyone's going to eat. And hey, even if I had studied something at uni that I really enjoyed, maybe I would have like enjoyed history or been really good at that. But in my head, I was like, at the end of the day, we're at uni to go and get a job, to make money, to like have more freedom in life. So choose the degree that's going to be a good like job outcome. I went and worked in the deer industry after that for a year, and then throughout the time was doing different business stuff.
In the dairy?
Deer.
Like the animal?
Animal,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we were like at a deer co-products factory. So if you've ever heard of like deer velvet, we did antler, pizzle, tail, sinew, all the little bits. Like they'd get slaughtered at another place. All the bits would come to us frozen, and then we would like either powder them into capsules or and encapsulate them, or I don't know, powders. We didn't do too much pet food, but a little bit different to what I'm doing now.
Yes. What did you graduate then?
A Bachelor of Science.
Okay.
Food science.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And so how do we go from the deer business to where we are today?
Well, at university, while I was on Instagram, I remember seeing a pair of leggings that I liked and messaging the page, can I buy some? They said, no, you've got to buy 12 pairs. We only do wholesale. So I was like, all right, I'll buy 12 pairs. Like, I reckon I could sell 12 pairs of tights. And again, I was working at the time at a as a dishie at a hotel. And so I had a bit of money saved up. And so I started buying these tights out of Colombia, getting them sent over, doing things like running Facebook ads, but also growing on Instagram. So that would have been 2012, I think. And
This was like early e-com dropshipping.
Yeah. No, hold on. Yeah, maybe 2015.
Okay.
Early-ish, yeah. So also new, and ended up using Instagram as like a major channel for driving growth to that website. At the same time, I had a classmate and we were in a year-long group project together. So Tash at the time was building out her food account because she, also studying food sci, wanted to be able to show future employers like, this is what I can do with food. So she she literally wanted to work at like a cafe and do smoothie bowls and stuff. I think, well, she she didn't want to work at a cafe. That was like, I remember that was one of the jobs she'd gone for, thinking, oh my God, imagine if I could work at this health cafe. And then we realised, oh, actually, we've got these skills in growing Instagram accounts. People are asking us all the time, how did you get all these followers? So then on the side of the Deer Factory job, I was managing Instagram accounts for people, and Tash and I decided that we'd join all our clients together and create a business, which was managing Instagram accounts. From there, I met my now business partner, and we started brainstorming for Girls Get Off. And about COVID, Tash and I split up that business, and we're still best of friends. And she went off and just did the content creation side, so she's still a photographer now. And then I went off and just did the account management side of things. Cool. And then Joe and I started Girls Get Off. I sold that client list, and that's where we are.
That's so interesting.
There's always random stuff going on, you know?
Yeah, it sounds like it. So this process of meeting Jo and then deciding to start a business with her, that's a big decision. Maybe it's not a big decision for you, but generally it's hard to decide on a partnership versus going out on your own. How did you decide on that?
I think we had got along quite well. Like we'd initially met because we were taking photos and doing content for her. It was like a personalised cookie business. You know, when you're at a grazing table and they've got the fondant stamped cookies. So that's what she had. Nice. And then we had got along quite well. She had great ideas. And we had honestly been throwing ideas around. And then the idea for Girls Get Off sort of popped up. I mean, do you know what? I think it probably also... you can do a business by yourself, but I also think that when you are so bootstrapped, like we were at that time, A, it's awesome to do it with someone, but B, probably also having had that experience where I was like solo founder, that probably has also had an impact on, you know, not minding to go into partnerships, because it's like, so like, what am I doing? You know, you don't have that person to bounce stuff off all the time. I mean, I don't think there was that much thought put into it, but it just felt like, I still feel like it was a measured decision, but I mean, people probably do like years of due diligence before they go into business partnerships with people, but I think it was more just like, okay, we work well together, we've got good ideas, we're sort of on the same page, so let's go for it.
Sometimes if it just gels, it gels, right?
Totally.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Do you think that the decision to choose the products that you chose, was that something you guys started off doing, or did you start off thinking we'll just find an idea of sorts? We
started chatting about how we wanted to go into business together. That involved heaps of different ideas being thrown around. So one of the ideas we initially had was actually well-branded cask wine, because I had seen that. Okay, let's rewind to when I was at uni. When I was at uni, every Thursday, Saturday night, not Friday nights in Dunedin, we would go to the alcohol shop or the Pack and Save, the supermarket, and you would buy like whatever had the most standards per dollar. Do you know what I mean? So like, I was a huge fan of Scrumpy. Actually, to be fair, still am. It was like $8.99 at Pack and Save, 8.1 standards. Great deal. By the time my sister had gone to university a couple of years later, I watched her and her friend start making purchase decisions based on brand. So they were all buying like a brand called Part-Time Rangers, and they were, this is how much I paid attention to it, $27 for a 10-pack of RTDs. And so again, I'm like, well, that's 10 drinks and you paid $27, but I got 8.1 for $8. So that's stupid. But I could see that it was so trending. Yeah. They gave 10% away to each different flavour, had a different cause. So there was like white rhinos, African elephants. They had all these different causes they were raising money for. And at the same time, we realised that people are drinking. That's when they take the most photos, put stuff on Instagram, and there are, now consumers are making decisions based on brand, but there are no cool brands for alcohol. So we then thought, well, also students don't care what stuff tastes like, so why don't we do well-branded Goonsack, call it like Humble Grape, award-free wine, play on the fact that it's like very average. And we had like boxes done, but once we started having a few conversations, it was very apparent that alcohol was an expensive industry to go into. And we even had little plans like to get around it at the start just to like prove if it was possible. So we figured that, well, technically, if you went and bought wine from the supermarket, I was like, I'm pretty sure that's still technically like, you're still tracking where your stuff comes from if you buy it from the supermarket, repackage it and put it in another thing just to see if it sells first, right? And we were like, we get people on subscription. Yeah. And then once we validated it, then we can go and get it bagged ourselves, like whatever. We were gonna do square boxes and like tape it up with duct tape and write things like summer shred not going so well or something, because they were sort of like squeezed into these other shaped boxes. Anyway, after buying like 1,000 of these empty cartons, we decided, in fact, that was not the smartest idea. So those actually sat in Joe's garage for a number of years. But after that, and you know what? Thank God we did not, because I think about a month after we decided not to, Pals launched in New Zealand, which, do you know the brand Pals here?
Sure, yeah.
Oh my God, incredible pastel-coloured cans. Yeah. They couldn't keep them in stock, and they also tasted amazing. And we were like, thank God we didn't try and go up against Pals with bad-tasting goon sack. So anyway, that was a pre-idea. And then once lockdown hit in 2020 March, New Zealand was in lockdown. We had been having a few socially distanced drinks on Joe's driveway, and we're throwing around the idea of, well, what about sex toys? If you look at the purchasing path for a customer, and sex toys, I feel like everyone was at home playing with themselves, so there was all these reviews on Amazon coming out and on the radio, and people talking often about the Satisfyer Pro, and we could see that even if you were curious or you wanted to dip your toes in, you either had to go to the like random shop down the road. The one down the road from us was like back entrance, sex swing as soon as you walk in. You don't know who's going to be behind the counter, or if you're going to run into someone in a small town, and then, or you could go online, and some of these larger retailers have like 7,000 SKUs. Click on Toys for Her. Oh my gosh, it's so overwhelming. Like they've got crazy names, and it's next to the fisting glove, and then there's the toy you want, but you don't know if you want it because it's not like choosing a movie. You don't know what you like. So there's a lot of overwhelm. So we just wanted to create something that was like a fun, simple, positive buying experience for women that made buying a toy as simple and like, I guess, like an act of self-care, like buying skincare. So that's where it all kind of came to. And I think from that process and throughout, probably, even though that came from a place of, actually, I think we can do this better. I think we can market this better and normalize this topic. I think from that, we both probably realized, but again, had never articulated that we'd always sort of been for the girls. And once we started to uncover like how big the problem was and, how many people were missing out on good pleasure, then, once you start to get that purpose and drive behind your business as well, I think that, it just motivates you and the team more.
Did you guys bootstrap the entire thing, ordering stock, everything? Yeah,
we bootstrapped. I think we must have put in maybe we put in $5,000 each at the start, then maybe like another 8. I think we started with one toy, and we only had one toy for like the first 18 months. And we would have liked another one earlier, but we couldn't get to China, and it was all there was a lot of back and forth. Yeah. So we started with 1,000 of.
So you ordered in 1,000, had them here onshore, ready to go, and then started a pre-sale or went straight into a sale? Or just talk us through that process.
Initially we only wanted to order 500, but to get the changes that we wanted to the existing product, the 1,000 was the minimum. So we just thought, oh, well, if worse comes to worse, we're going to have to give away 1,000 vibrators. And we put the website live. And I think, like starting any business, it was important for us that it looked good enough, but it didn't have to be perfect. So it was like, okay, let's get the product, let's make a few changes so it's ours. We'll get the boxes and make them good enough. But we didn't go to the extent of, I think we had GGO embossed on the box, but it wasn't like now where it's fully branded and packaged and like, there was all the little flyers and stuff that still made it a good customer experience, but it wasn't like full noise from the get-go.
Simpler.
Yeah, lots simpler, just to see if people are actually going to take their money out and pay for these things. And I reckon we would have put in $13,000 each to start with. And then once we had all the products at Joe's garage, we put the website, we actually put the website live first because, as I'm sure you know, there's always something that goes wrong with different launches. So there's just there's no exception. So we put the website live just to do some test orders.
Yeah.
And we had been teasing and building the Instagram account for like maybe, 3 weeks before launch and sort of posting some different things. And I remember we got a couple of orders come through and I said to Joe, is that you? Like, who's this John person? I can't remember the name of, it was something like that. And we were both going, wait, what? And we realised that there must have been enough people clicking through to the sort of Instagram warm-up that we'd done and enough people curious that they were actually trying to click on the website.
They were finding it.
So they were finding it and people had already purchased. So we were like, okay, this is good. And once we finally launched pre-sales, I think we might have done 20 or 30 pre-sales and we were like, that never happened, so let's order some more. So I think to get that validation right from the start and having done other business stuff before, we could tell that was a very positive response to not a lot of groundwork at the start. It was just because it was so different. Like, people had never really seen people post about vibrators on their stories before, you know?
Yeah. And it's restricted, so you can't do anything through ads.
No, yeah. I mean, we tried to see how long we could do some kind of advertising for it. I honestly think it lasted about 2 days of boosting a post before we got our domain banned. But honestly, that was it. So, yeah.
So distribution is just through organic?
Just through organic. We have tried, I mean, we do Google search.
Yep.
We can all do Google search. We also have used influencers in the past. We do things like collaborations. We've got another toy collab, like joint product coming out in December. And in terms of organic content, we've always used that as our number one. We've always decided to be like on the edge, and we always on the edge in terms of always doing something different, trying to be ahead of what anyone else is doing, trying to build a community around that. We've also got a Facebook group, Girls Get Off Uncensored, which has got people in it. So just trying to build lots of different touch points with people that they can have with the brand. And then obviously email's so important for us. So we probably, I think like any e-commerce business, get like 30% of our revenue from email. So that's always been a big tool for us to build up.
30 would be probably higher.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
A little bit higher,
There you go. It's probably because they're all running paid ads.
I was going to say, because they'd have way more volume from paid.
Yeah. So we have always played in that space. And look, there's been lots of, random experiences, mistakes, wins. It's all been very good. But I think what we did have on our side at the start was first, I think I reached out to like 70 influencers and 4 people said yes, 2 of whom we already knew. So I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think that no one wanted to post a vibrator on their story. Like, it seemed so obvious, but then because we'd seen like another brand doing it overseas, we were like, oh, like it just didn't even cross our mind. Like, these things are so obvious in hindsight. But once we did get that first influencer and the first big one, I think Simone, we did maybe 180 sales off her code in the first 24 hours. That was great. We were like, this is, not only have you got a good product that people want, it solves a problem, but also people haven't seen this product being shared before. So there's like an extra layer of like curiosity. It's not just another foundation or
lipstick,
lipstick, exactly. So it's really different. And so that worked in our favor. So when we could get influencers, that was often quite positive for us. And then when we had the second lockdown in New Zealand in September 2021, again, because we'd had previous experience, knowing that engagement was going to go crazy and knowing that other brands just take so long to react, I think I landed, I was going on holiday, landed, and then an hour later it was like New Zealand's going into lockdown, and I was on the phone to Joe saying, we need to go so hard and we need to, we came up with a plan to do a giveaway a day over the lockdown period, because lockdown was only supposed to be 3 or 4 days. And we had, I think I sent my sister off. I'm like, right, Julia, take that hospital pass of yours and go off to Back and Save and get all the pink lollies you can. We wanted to do like a survival giveaway. So, and with toilet paper and stuff in it. So that went really well from the start. And then, day 4, they then extended the giveaway, the lockdown to 10 days. So all of a sudden, every day we're talking to each other like, what are we going to give away today? And what we'd also done over that time is leading up to that, we'd kind of done like on stories, we'd done Sunday confessions once a week. So, and we've done that since we started. So every Sunday we put a question box up, people write in, tell us what they've been up to over the weekend, and we post them all anonymously. So we can see, you know, people might be like, I had sex on the kitchen bench, and then next week 2 more people have got sex on the kitchen bench stories, and there's all these just little antics that people are up to. So we've done that right from the start, but we'd also started doing once a week like a little quiz or a poll or a would you rather, like some kind of game with our followers. But during that lockdown time, as well as doing the giveaway a day, we were like, let's double down. And so we were doing content like that every single day, question boxes, what's your funniest breakup story, like all that sort of stuff before no one was doing that at all. And that just, I think we did 20,000 new followers over that 10-day period.
Wow.
And then we hit 50K and then we lost our account. And we woke up.
What, did you just get banned by Instagram?
Yeah, we got banned by Instagram because I'd posted, again, one of the question boxes, we'd posted, like, you're not allowed to describe an act. And I don't even think this one was sexual. I think it was someone making a joke, but it to Instagram would have picked it up as violence, like I would have like slapped myself or something like that. And so then, you know, woohoo, 50K. And then I literally wake up in the morning and it's gone. And we were like, perfect. So then we, you know, they had people trying to, you know, report it missing and so on, and we got it back, and then now we're very careful. But yeah, so it was a wild ride, that lockdown, but we definitely doubled down, and that was one of the biggest drivers of our like growth, was just doubling down over that period. That said though, you know, if someone's listening thinking, oh, well, that's like lucky, I think it's even easier to grow on Instagram now than back then. So I think there's actually, if you can get good content, it's more of a level playing field. And if you can hit the right audience, there's so much opportunity to grow on social now.
Where did you learn how to grow on social? Where does that come from?
I think I'm just a good stalker, you know, like I think I'm just a good observer, and I really put time into following and observing people from different niches. So it might be like, do you follow Dylan Francis, the DJ on Instagram? Do you follow him? Yeah. So like I follow some random male DJ from, well, he's not really random, but you know, like, and I woke up this morning, I could see, you know how Diplo is all about his running club at the moment? And I can see that Dylan Francis has done a reel, and he's done, oh my God, Dylan's walking club. And so he's at Diplo's event, he's doing Dylan's walking club, and he's got on the back of his shirt like Dylan walked so Diplo could run, and like it's just a piss take. And so he's got his assistant, and he's doing like real, like random stuff, and I'm like, amazing. Yeah. And then I've got, you know, it might be a good example of another account I've follow, like, I don't know, a Pit Viper. Do you know Pit Viper? And they have like the most sarcastic tone. Their social media manager is always like behind the Instagram captions, and it's so random. And again, it couldn't be further from Girls Get Off, but I just think it's kind of funny and it's random. And I think by going into such different random niches and seeing what people are doing and see what I like and what I scroll on, like even to the point of, you know, on some meme pages and at the top it'll say, if only there was a page just dedicated to XYZ, and seeing, you know, like there's nothing, if you're seeing content that's viral like that, there's no reason you can't use that for your business. I think also trying to stay away from just, unless we can do a trend really differently and like that can be a hook in itself, then we just don't even really put time into doing things that are similar to, I mean, yeah, we're always just trying to make it a little bit quirky and different, and just always thinking about like just back to basics, aka no one cares what you have to say, so you've got to offer some kind of value. You know, what are you going to do to hook them in? What value are you going to provide? Like, it's all well and good to think, oh, but I need to talk about this new product launch. It's like, well, no one cares. So how can you do it in a way that is going to be, you're competing for eyeballs against the viral content, against the Dylan Francis, against the, you know, literally against celebrities. So what are you going to do to stand out? Because if you do the same as everyone else, it's just not going to work.
What's, just looking back at the last few years, what's been a really big lever or item that you've done that's made a huge impact on growth? Aside from, you just touched on a lot of the organic, what else?
Press. Yeah, so we always try and get a news article whenever we can.
How do you go about that? Because some people don't know how to do that or don't understand the process.
Yeah, okay. So there's two options for getting press. And when I say press or PR, I'm not talking about influencer send out. Sometimes I use those terms interchangeably. I'm talking about like getting in the news, getting news articles written about you. So one path is paid, and so you can use a platform like Linkbee, which is cost per click marketing. So if I say to Daily Mail, all right, I've got this new product launch coming out, you write the article, for everyone who clicks through from the article to our site, we'll pay $3 per click or something. So that's cost per click marketing. They're incentivized to write a good article so that it gets clicks through, so they get paid. That's one way. The second way would be through like same but affiliates. So instead of cost per click, then using something like Skim Links, where you then give the publisher a percentage of sale. So that's what we prefer if we can. And I know some people use a combination of both. Like, it's going to be a lot easier for you to get articles for, say, Linkbee or cost per click, because the publishers are more likely to get paid. The third option is, or I guess there's paid over there, but then there's also organic. So if we have something happening in our business that, again, no one cares, it's got to be some kind of value to the end reader, then we'll always try and push that out as media. So, for example, last year we tried to open a bank account in New Zealand with BNZ, and they denied us. So we'd gone through the process, they'd had a few phone calls, and then it came back with an email to my business partner saying, I can't even remember. It'd be a good punchline if I actually remember what the email said. But it was something like, we can't, it's been denied or something due to the nature of your business. It was essentially that. And
Why is that? Just higher risk?
I think people, they just don't want to, they just like, sex industry, no. So we see this all the time. Like, we were trying to ship some product from Melbourne to New Zealand recently, and like FedEx wouldn't ship it because they said they classed it as obscene material. Like, sometimes we just get random things that happen, or hoops we've got to jump through. I think even to use one of the payment processes, we had to join some association to say that we were legit. So when this came through, we could tell that it was probably just a clerical thing, even though we'd talk to people. But for a lot of people, they go, oh my God, that's so bad. But for us, as soon as we got that, we were like, bingo, we can go to the news with this. And so, a bit naughty, but I screenshotted the article. I said, Joe, send that to me. Screenshotted the email and crossed out the confidential part. Oh, fuck it, we'll ask for forgiveness, not permission. and then sent it off to our contact, and we're like, look at this, everyone hates the banks anyway. So the big bank trying to take down these two lovely girls with their small business in New Zealand, just trying to out there doing it. And then we ended up, that one went wild. And whenever, I think it was a Sunday morning, I was going for a run, and I thought, man, that news article should be out by now. I knew they were going to put it out on Sunday. And sure enough, it was front page of the Herald Online app, and I had dads messaging me like, well done darling, you're in the news again, and then I could see the Shopify sales from like Keith, Margaret, Louise, all these names where I can tell that they're reading the front page of the Herald on a Sunday morning. And that's always good for us, because it gets us in front of an audience that we wouldn't necessarily get in front of as easily on organic Instagram or Facebook. And it's also just, it's great for brand, and that's free if you can get, you're paying the person, whoever you're using, to get it in there in terms of PR, but that is always awesome for us. And that one actually snowballed a little bit, and I think we ended up getting like 3 different articles from it. It must have gone so well that they did follow-up stories. Stuff in New Zealand did another article. I actually ended up messaging the CEO of BNZ on LinkedIn because I was like, oh man, this guy, poor guy's been dragged into it. Like, one of the follow-up articles had like a photo of him, and like BNZ denies girls get off bank account, and his face is on it saying, like, with his comment. And I messaged saying, hi,
I'm sorry,
nice to meet you. I'm like, thanks for being such a good sport, because they're profusely apologising and letting us open bank accounts. And he said, honestly, it's no trouble. He said, the worst part has actually been the women in the office, or my office is mostly women, and he said, the shit I've been dealt this week from all these women saying like, Dan, why are you not letting us let them have a bank account? So yeah, that was good. It's all little things like that, but I guess that comes back to just having your eyes open to what could be a newsworthy story. And if you're about to do something either on socials or like, we were hiring for a new staff member, and we came up with the idea of like, wait, but what if we put in there that we'll give everyone a 1-hour masturbation break each day or each week or something, and we'll put it in there, and we can tell the team like, whatever, they've already got to test toys or already. And but we'll take that and then we'll push it out. Again, we'll push it out to media and see if we get some uptake from that. And so I think there were a few radio interviews in there. There was a press article. So anything like that, if we can, if something's happening and we can swing it, or if we're about to do something and we think we can add a little bit of spice to, create a story out of it, like, and again, you have to bring it back to like no one cares. So no one, like the news does not care if you've released a new product, like unless it's crazily selling out and no one can get it. Even though I think that's probably, I don't know, maybe that's an overdone a thing now. If it was just a new product, we'd go on that like paid route to get in media. But if it was something that was actually sort of newsworthy, then that's always a good idea. And as much as I personally don't really read the news, I think sometimes it's a good idea to see what those headlines, see what they are writing about, and check on the articles. If it says, on Pedestrian might get affiliate sales from that, it's a high chance that they've paid for that article. So if you look at more of the organic stuff, look at who they're talking about. I know some brands will collaborate with influencers who are newsworthy, who the media is just obsessed with and wants to talk about them often, because that is probably a good indication that they might be able to get some PR out of it. So
Have there been any really big lessons that have come out of running this business?
I think every product-based business owner has learnt the lesson of how cash flow isn't so important and so is profit. But aside from that, I mean, one of the things with the business that is bigger than other businesses I've had before, I guess, is around people, and given we've already talked about the fact I've really only had one real job, I've had all the other little random ones, but I've never been in a situation like corporate or, I worked in a factory. I remember Adrian specifically telling me, you set your own standards here. I would go to work in track suits, and we'd wear sperm suits and hairnets and gumboots. It was very chill. I was in charge of documenting, make sure people were wearing hairnets. That is not a corporate environment. That is pretty left field compared to if you're working at Deloitte or you're in a marketing team or so I remember meeting a friend who she had worked in PR actually for big news things, and she was telling me about how she had been managing some of her staff members, and I was like, how on earth do you know that? That's incredible. Or the way that she'd been asking them, planning and seeing what they wanted to achieve, and all these things that have taken me so many years to learn and scrape together only because I've made mistakes. I'm like, how is this your first business and you're already doing this? She's like, I don't know. And I'm like, oh my God, because she's worked she's actually worked at these kind of jobs. Yeah. So one of the biggest things has been around that people management and making sure that people understand what success looks like in their role, what resources do they need to do the job right, making sure that they know what they're doing is a great idea, and providing that feedback, because I think when you go from two people who very self-sufficient, we're obviously on the same page about business growth. That's an asset for us, right? So we're very internally motivated. Driven. We know what's on. We'll go the extra mile. It's just it just goes without saying. And then when you have a staff member, then you've got to remember that person is not on the same page. That they're here to earn a living in their own right. So and further their career and all these different things. So that has been a real learning journey, and I really admire people who can they just sort of get it, but we're all good at different things. So I think that, that's been a huge learning curve. And I think there's so many firsts. I remember hiring my first staff member at an old business and thinking, I'm so nervous, what if my business goes down and then I can't pay her? Then what am I going to do, and you just, and in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm only nervous because I haven't done it before, So I think there's probably also been some fitness and, mental fitness as any business owner would relate to in terms of just, I remember at that first tights business, I'd said to the guy I was going to send him money via Western Union, dodgy, by a certain date. And I got to the travel agency that I had to send it via, and I just missed the cutoff, and I burst into tears because I don't know, it must have been exams or something. I was stressed, and the lady's passing me tissues underneath that security wall thing, and I'm in the travel agency in Dunedin crying. And I'm like, that is not even a big deal. And then now, over all the years of getting that mental fitness, now things happen when we got our Instagram account suspended recently, I was like, oh wow. I'm like, it'll come back. I'm like, we haven't done done anything wrong, and all those things just count for so much in terms. It's like going to the gym, you know. So that's probably been a really big learning, and I think that also then goes to show, you know, when I do have things that are big or new or scary, then I'm also just reminded that sometimes it's just because you haven't done it before, or one day that will be a small problem too.
How do you manage balancing the business versus life outside of the business?
I don't really have many commitments, so I don't really have much to manage. I mean, Joe's got 2 kids, so that's a little bit more of a juggle. But I actually think I actively put more time into business now because I'm like, this is the season of my life. I should work as much as I can, you know, work as much as I can. Also go on holidays every now and then, or have long weekends. I missed out last quarter on just trying to get away like at least once a quarter to just keep things sort of fresh, but and it just also has to come back to the basics. Sometimes there's been times where, particularly on the transition from my old agency to Girls Get Off, where I had both at the same time, because at the start I thought, yeah, I can do both. No, I could not.
You can't.
No, I could not. And that time, I just remember working so much and thinking, you know, going to the gym in the morning and just like lying on a yoga mat thinking, I don't even remember how I used to exercise, or just turning up and just go to the sauna. And so whenever I start to feel like I'm getting a little bit burnt out, or I've been overcooking it a little bit, which also sometimes I'm like, who cares, just overcook it and then have a break later, which I'm actually, you know, sometimes if you're in the zone, I'm like, oh well, I'll just smash it out. And then they'll get to a stage where I'm like, oh no, I need to like take the foot off the gas a little bit and then just realign everything. And so in those moments, which has actually been quite recently as well, I was doing really big days because we needed to, like, winter's a good time for us, and again, make hay while the sun shines. So I've been smashing lots of hours, and then started realizing like, oh, I'm coming to a grinding halt here. It normally is when I feel like I can't be bothered to go to the gym or like socialize or go swimming and stuff, normally things that I love. But when you just have like low energy, so then it's like, okay, back to the basics, pause, shorten work hours, pause the gym membership, have a few weeks off, like go back to just easy swimming stuff. Also like diet, like, oh my God, I eat the most rogue food ever sometimes. And I recently paid a friend who's a nutritionist. He normally works with rugby players. I said, Hayden, if you can teach those rugby boys how to meal prep, I think I'm next. I'm like, that is my vibe. I'm like, we're just such enablers, and we're like, should we just get grilled, you know? So we're just like, now we're doing meal prep, and it's so much easier, and like even just for your brain, right? Just making sure everything's good. So it's just the basics, and sleep. Always big on the sleep. I think that's how I balance it. But
makes a huge difference.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm also a very much need to do something in the morning. If I've got all day to talk myself out of a gym class in the afternoon, not a good setup. I'm better off getting up and going before I can think about it, and then that kind of like gets me moving. That's how I balance it out.
What's your bigger vision with Girls Get Off?
Oh, bigger vision. I mean, at the moment, we're still trying to grow in Australia. Next, it'll be out of either the US or the UK. We really want to create, like, just keep growing the community into something where people supported and safe, and like they're getting more than a sex toy out of it. I think we will always be, like, I think a good business is one that could be sold at any time in terms of focusing on the fundamentals like profit and so on and so forth. But there's no rush I'm not in a rush to sell Girls Get Off. We've talked about it, and I think, like, you know, I think any entrepreneur can relate to shiny object syndrome and like, oh, look at that new thing over there. But at the moment, we're super happy, and we're just focusing on growing it. It's not to say that it won't, you know, something different might pop up later on. But I'm also not the kind, I think I also have the self-awareness to say, even if I, you know, sold my shares, I'm not going to like sail off into the sunset and do nothing, you know, like it's just not how I'm wired. So if I'm not doing this, it'll be something else. So I think there's also an element of I'm not like in a rush. Like many people might just be building for a big exit. Like that could happen one day, but it's not like I'm just putting everything on the line to get over that finish line. It's more, I think there's a lot of power in just learning to enjoy the journey and just having a laugh along the way. Yeah.
I think it's so important to just enjoy it when you're in the moment as well.
Yeah.
What do you feel like looking forward is going to be the biggest game changer for you guys?
Looking forward, I mean, one day maybe we'll be able to advertise freely on these platforms. That'd be amazing. And at the very least, I feel like do you remember when Mark Zuckerberg came out and said, we're going to ease up restrictions a little bit, and people got a bit worried? We were like, yes, all right, we might have to deal with some fake news. However, we might be able to talk about our vibrators more. And we did see some good improvements, but I think lately it's been a little bit shaky. So, look, I bought some doll clothes to put on, like little beanies and stuff on the toys, because we were for a while there, we honestly could not show. I did not say the word vibrator. I didn't say the word. I didn't put the word on the screen, but I was dressed up as like a witch trying to turn, like with our wand toy, trying to turn different things into vegetables into Tim Tams. And so that was getting flagged in the account status. And so that was all fine, and then it's gone sort of back to being a little bit more strict. So I've got Barbie doll clothes on them at the moment. But honestly, at a minimum, it'd be epic if we could just show our products and not have to worry so much. But I think in terms of, like, I'm really excited by AI and what that means for, like, what that means. What are we calling SEO for GEO or something? What are we calling SEO for AI? Yeah. GEO. I just see that as a huge opportunity at the moment, and maybe people won't know how to prompt it to search for sex toys. I'm not sure. However, with that recent announcement from Shopify, that's epic. I also think when we're going to see so much change with AI, and it's happening so fast, that it presents such a good opportunity for small businesses, because we can be right onto it, unless a bigger brand, unless they have someone like an owner or someone who's really owning it and driving it, they're going to have to wait ages until they get either someone internally who really is obsessed with it, or if they get an agency, but that's going to be like a long-term process. So you can't even find information on YouTube about this at the moment. The best tips and things I've had are from people who we just share information with, because it's so good, no one wants to give it away at this point. So I think that's a huge opportunity. I also think that we're probably at quite a good time for people's attitudes perhaps changing. So hopefully one day we'll see vibrators on the shelves of, they can be on the shelves, but hopefully people feel comfortable enough to buy their sexual wellness products from places like David Jones or Mecca or Sephora. Some of these places have toys on their online parts at the moment, but not so much in store. Like, you'll see brands in the States have vibrators in store at Walmart. So we'll see where that goes. I think it's only going to get more, people are going to get more comfortable with it. So we'll just have to be there and waiting and building our brand in the meantime. But we'll see. Yeah.
Viv, this was your last podcast. What would you want someone to take away from it?
Oh, if it was my last podcast, I don't know. I think for any business owner listening, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, but this AI stuff it's pretty, I don't know. I'm just obsessed with it. I think it's just so incredible. And it's, there are elements of scary stuff, but that's only because we don't know what it is. I think that's a lot of it. So I think for small businesses, there's good and there's bad, but I think there's a lot of opportunity with how fast things are going to move and how fast small business owners can be, that there's going to be edges that we can have over the competition.
Interesting. Some rapid fire questions. Favorite holiday destination?
Favorite holiday destination? I honestly had the best time recently in Albania. I had a full week off, different time zone. It's been a long time since I did a full unplug like that, and that was awesome. I don't know if driving on the roads in Albania would be my favorite holiday destination. That was literally Jesus take the wheel kind of stuff, but the Burex, those spinach and cheese things, man, they were great. The beaches, the beers, divine.
Favorite book? I
actually am the proud new owner of a Kindle. Okay. I decided I needed to stop watching TV, so now I just stay up late on a different screen. Not necessarily a favourite book, but I really enjoyed it. It was called Chasing Evil, and it was a true story based on an FBI agent who utilised a psychic to solve a lot of his cases over and over again over a period of most of his career. Wild.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, and very different to a business book. So check it out.
What's a habit that you do that most people should?
You know what? This new meal prep habit, I'm into it. I'm really into it. And you know what? Going, like, again, it's not really a habit. I don't know. Yeah, meal prep. And then maybe just going to the beach. It's always good for you.
What's the life lesson that's had the greatest impact on you?
Realising that you are not special. So we all think about ourselves and think about we're the centre of the universe. Like, not so much I'm the centre of the universe, but more so that, for example, if your friend calls or texts you and said, I need to talk, and you go, oh, have I done something wrong, blah, 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 actually this is not necessarily about you, you're just making it about yourself, because we all think in essence that we're special. And I think that the lesson I learned in that context was when I was very early on in business, and I just felt like I was just bashing my head against the wall. I didn't know why things weren't working, and I just would look at other business owners and think, maybe they've got it easier, because that's an easier business to have, or they mustn't have any dramas at all, like that just must be cruising because that's just a more popular product. And I think when I had the realization that no, you're not special, aka no, everyone experiences hard times and ups and downs and all the rest of it, and has their own set of challenges equally. If you're not special, in terms of I'm not so different from other people, then what's stopping you from achieving whatever you want to? Because I mean, what's making you so different that you've got to not earn the money you want to, or not live the life that you want to, or not have the business that you want to? It's really down to you. So once I flipped that, and I don't know if that's the best explanation, but once I realised that you put your own ceilings on, I guess. Yeah.
What a great way to end. Viv, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me.